Okay, good evening. We'll call this regular council meeting to order and call to order the open portion. If I can get approval of the agenda, please. Bev, Councillor Berger.
Second.
Councillor Casper, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and then we'll move into the adoption of the council and COW minutes. And so we have December the 7th, the special council meeting.
Move approval.
Second.
Seconded.
Councillor Pearson, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. December the 7th, the committee of the whole meeting.
So moved.
Councillor Pearson.
Second.
Councillor Casper. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. The December 12th special council meeting. Councillor Berger. Councillor Logans. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And December the 14th, the regular council meeting.
So moved.
Councillor Pearson.
Second.
Councillor Casper. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Excuse me, Your Worship. I
Yes.
believe that agenda item RA2 will be removed from the agenda.
My apologies. I should have said that straight up at the beginning of the meeting. I have deleted RA2 from this agenda because it's operational in nature.
Okay, thank you. Can we get a motion then to amend the agenda, removing RA2? Councillor Pearson. Councillor Logans, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the do we have the Rcmp here? Don't. Okay, no, thank you. I appreciate that. So the next item on the agenda is the public question and comment period. We have 10 minutes and 2 minutes time limit per person. And so what I would ask is that for those who do wish to address council, please begin by stating your first name and your last name. And if I could ask you to spell your last name for the record, and then also provide the address for the record. A copy of the agenda has been placed on the podium for your reference, so if you could please advise us which agenda item you wish to speak to before beginning your comments, that'd be greatly appreciated. So if there's anybody who would like to come to the podium.
Ellen Lures, 5526 Souk Road. I wanted to address one thing, the RCMP report.
Okay, thank you.
I want to acknowledge that it's good to see that the RCMP report now reports under the Mental Health Act. And I'd like to see under the assaults, if there be alcohol, drug-related stats for that as well. Because these could be used to address the cause rather than the results in the end. And I think it's good to have those statistics.
Okay.
One other comment I have is in the minutes on page 8 with the public input. I talked about the digital sign, researching about the digital sign, and the council recommended that Brenda would contact the Lions because there already was some process, but that isn't in here.
Okay.
That recommendation, and I think that should be in here, so there's a follow-up.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis.
Thank you.
Ms. Sprinkling, what would be the process for that? Would we go back then to the video and locate the information that Mrs. Lewis has identified as missing from the minutes?
We can bring back the minutes for amendment. However, I do believe that there is some progress on that matter.
Okay. Councillor Parkinson.
It was just so that I would talk with the Lions Club that are doing the project and ask them to be involved with Ellen's project as well and to listen to what she has presented to us. That's what, yeah.
Yeah, and to echo what Councillor Parkinson said, it was, thank you, Ms. Lewis, for bringing that up, but it was talked about, and I think it was sort of an informal recommendation that Brenda not lose sight of it. But I do appreciate that it was talked about. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
As I recall.
Gail Hall, 2517 Sioux River Road, last name Hall.
Thank you, Mrs. Hall.
I'd like to address page 7 or 17. I don't know how these things are numbered. Big one, 17. My concern is with the minutes from the public hearing, and I'm not going to say anything I'm not allowed to say, but I believe that the minutes are not sufficient because anything that I had to say of any importance is not included here. And if you leave out numbers and things like that, the minutes don't mean anything. You know, it says that I expressed my opposition to the rezoning. I didn't actually, but I can't now say what's been left out. And because it's been left out, it was meaningless. So I'm stuck now because there's some serious stuff surrounding that, and I have no way of getting it forward.
Mrs. Hall, I will ask Ms. Sullivan, our CAO, to look into the missing information from the minutes.
Well, it's on the video, of course, but it's too late, isn't it? Because it comes up tonight, and it's been gone by the point where we can speak to it. So I'm done. Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
For the matter of record, I'll make sure that Mrs. Hall's concerns are appropriately addressed in the minutes.
Button. Would anybody else like to comment? Okay. Well, thank you very much. That will then take us into the public and statutory hearings and third reading or adoption bylaws. And I have something to read. This public hearing is being held pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act. At this public hearing, any person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the bylaws that are the subject of this hearing. Copies of written submission received to date are available. It is important that all who speak at this hearing restrict their remarks to matters contained in the bylaws, and it is my responsibility as chair of this hearing to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. It is also my responsibility as the chair of this public hearing to ensure that everyone who wishes to do so has a reasonable opportunity to make their submissions to the council in a safe and calm environment. For that purpose, I am requesting that everyone in the hall refrain from interrupting others who are speaking and from applauding or otherwise after speakers have finished. Such expressions of approval or disapproval can have no influence whatsoever on the council and may have the effect of discouraging other members of the public from speaking their mind when their turn comes to speak, and deprive the council of the benefit of their views on the bylaws. The hearing will also proceed more efficiently without such interruptions. Those of you who wish to speak concerning these bylaws should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to the council by clearly stating your name and address, and as I requested before, if you could please spell your last name for the record. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaws. Submissions must be received before or during the public hearing in order to be considered by council. Members of council may, if they so wish, ask questions of you following your presentation or submission. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed bylaws with individual citizens. Everyone who deems his or her interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making his or her views known. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. And this evening, we are we have before us the rezoning application of 2017 Idlemore Road. And may I turn it over to staff?
Hi everyone, thanks for coming tonight. This is my first official PowerPoint in this council, so bear with me. My name is Danica Rice and I'm a planner here. Okay, so this evening our applicant wishes to expand Souk Moving and Storage Limited to include the location at 2017 Idlemore Road. This application will have basically two purposes. The first is to amend the official community plan. Within the plan, we have to change the community residential designation, which currently exists, to a technical industrial designation. And then we also are looking to amend the Souk zoning bylaw, which where we would change the rural residential zone, the RU4, to a service commercial zone. Should this application be approved, it will be the first property to be designated as technical industrial within the district of Souk. So it's something different. We haven't used the technical industrial designation yet. So the property itself is located within the Kaltassin neighborhood on Idlemore Road, the Billings Spit community out there. The site itself is just over an acre, measuring 1.13 acres in size. It's not located within the sewer specified area, and it's not presently serviced by piped water. However, CRD water is available at the lot line. You can see from the ortho photo sort of what the lot looks like. So historically, the site has been home to a variety of uses, most of them industrial. In the past, the site has had storage and offices for the logging industry, gravel extraction, repair shops, and different events associated with the logging operations, as well as it's been a refuse and disposal location, to name a few of the businesses that have been run right in this particular location. This next map provides somewhat of an overview of the land use and zonings that are within the neighborhood. You can see surrounding the property, which has the star on it, that we have M2, which are general industrial zonings, the pink, and then just right to the north of it, there is an existing service commercial C3 zoning, which is what we are looking to zone the property to today. So until recently, the lot was occupied and included a house, a barn, several shipping containers, and other outbuildings. In the summertime, or in June, I should say, of 2015, a demolition permit was issued for the removal of the house. I think a few of you might know the condition of that house over the last couple of years. The applicant intends to buy and build new structures for the purpose of additional storage for Souk Moving and Storage Limited, as well as other potential business endeavors. This particular site is an overview of how, or sorry, these photos are an overview of the existing situation of the property. So we have now cleared land, new fencing. The barn still stands for some storage, and basically the site is prepared for new uses. And this next one is part of a site analysis that I did out there, just looking at some of the basic things in the community that, you know, we as planners look at to give some analysis as to why and how things potentially should or could evolve. So this site is really located midway along Idlemore Road, and if you look to the north, the character is more or less industrial, whereas to the south, there's a more residential feel to it. And so the street is wide open and straight, as you can see, and as a result of this, there is quite a bit of fast-moving traffic that also creates some safety concerns for pedestrians and people along the sides of the roads. So some of the, and then just the other design-related observations are the industrial lands. You can see the older trees, so there's some established community there from the past. There's an elementary school nearby, so having safe pedestrian access along the shoulder could be a concern. Recent break-ins have been recorded in the community, and there are dark streets at night. There's presently no lighting. However, I do believe our engineering department has recently ordered lighting for the neighborhood to help offset that. So from the industrial end of things as well, there are some opportunities to improve form and character within the industrial realm. And so you can see that we're looking at primarily metal siding and fencing. There's some natural colors and things like this here. It's not entirely, or not very aesthetically pleasing. It's not particularly safe for pedestrians. There's the First Nations cemetery at a gateway, which, you know, could potentially be more appropriately integrated into the community. There's concerns for crime prevention, again, in that area, and so we can use tools like crime prevention through environmental design that could be implemented in this area to help improve it. On the residential side, we have, you know, a number of nice houses, they're wooden siding and natural tones with, you know, green and native landscaping. And then there's also somewhat of a forestry and First Nations history that seems to be respected in the neighborhood. These are strictly observations, just so everyone knows, and what I'm trying to do here is just paint a feeling of the two predominant uses that seem to be characterized within that neighborhood. So the proposed applicant, Souk Moving and Storage, has existed in Souk for over 25 years. They currently operate under a commercial business license, and which has been in effect with the district since its inception. The owner, Mr. Peters, is an avid volunteer within the community who has helped dozens of organizations in town for the last 25, 30 years. The business presently offers covered storage in large warehouses, as well as the option to rent 8, 10, and 20-foot long shipping containers. While the company operates across the street, warehousing and storage are not currently permitted under the existing RU4 zoning at 2017 Idlemore Road. This application is not, therefore, consistent with the policies and objectives of the community residential designation of the OCP. So it should be noted that the OCP itself is a living document, and at this time, some would say that it is outdated and it needs some revision. The current land use map only permits storage in technical industrial or commercial designations. Within the existing community residential designation that's there right now, only small neighborhood scale commercial is permitted. And so that means that all you could have there would be a daycare, corner store, neighborhood pub. So for that reason, this is why we have to make the OCP amendment. So by creating a technical industrial designation, the a variety of commercial uses can be permitted, which include storage. In this case, council would be able to regulate the form and character of the parcel, allowing for an improvement in aesthetics, landscaping, and pedestrian orientation. It would also give us an opportunity to create a gateway or a transition zone between the industrial uses to the one end of Idlemore Road and the residential uses at the other. So it allows for just a nicer transition between these two uses. If you want to read the definition on the slide, a technical industrial designation provides support for development of business parks where all commercial and industrial activities are primarily outdoors, clean, and they allow for live-work units or residential above business activity, and which have a higher level of building design and street frontage improvements similar to that of commercial areas. And the little sketches to the side just show some of the components that with the implementation of development permits over the next while, you could see, just a little bit more beautification, if that were so possible, in this kind of neighborhood. The next slide is an overview of the C3 designation, the service commercial, and which would be required to rezone the property from RU4 to RU3, and you can see the list of permitted uses are there. And then my slide here, this is just a summary of the application where we talk about the legal, the zoning proposed to go to C3. It's currently this community residential. We're looking to make it technical industrial, the lot size, and then everything that I've basically spoken about. So, and then just in order to offset some of the future impacts associated with the increase in zoning, the applicant has volunteered an amenity contribution up to $5,000 as an in-kind contribution, or sorry, $5,000 or an in-kind contribution to help construct a separated trail along Idlemore Road. Mr. Peters and I had some discussions about what might be an appropriate donation to the community if he wanted to, that something that with this increase in zoning would give back to the community. And his first choice was to have streetlights. We discussed this with staff. Our engineering department found that it wouldn't be that difficult to have lighting installed on Idlemore Road already. So that those lights have been ordered and will be in place. And so this hopefully opens up an opportunity for a trail which would help improve the pedestrian access along that road, which I thought might be a great idea considering there is a school at one end and there is fast-moving traffic. These amenity contributions are totally open to discussion we negotiate it within the amenity contribution policy that we have. The commercial designation part of it is open to discussion. So he doesn't have to offer it, but he has in this instance. So other than that, our recommendation is that council adopt the bylaws 627 and 628, and that council direct that prior to the final adoption of these bylaws, that the owner enter a Section 219 covenant with the District of Soup to address the contribution towards the construction of the trail, and that council authorize the mayor and chief administrative officer to execute the Section 219 covenant. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Rice, and thank you for the in-depth report that you've provided council and the public here this evening.
Excuse
yes,
me,
Ms.
Your
Sprinkling?
Worship, just a few steps that we have to follow carefully with this before you open the public hearing. We need to amend bylaws 627 and 628 with the resolutions on page 25 of your agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Sprinkling. So we need a motion then. Ms. Sprinkling, the third item there talks about considering the third reading? After. Okay.
I would move that council amend bylaw number 627 of the official community plan amendment bylaw. And further that council amend bylaw 628 zoning amendment bylaw.
Okay. And Councillor Logan, second. Any discussion? Councillor Pearson?
So, thanks, Ms. Rice. So we're amending the OCP 627. The purpose of that, basically?
Designation.
Okay.
If I may explain a little further, if you look at the report on page 25,
Yes.
there were some administrative errors. So what we're doing is only correcting those in the bylaws 627 and 628 at this time.
Okay. So we're not amending the OCP, we're amending the
No.
administrative,
The bylaw,
okay.
yes.
Okay, that's fine. I want to make sure of that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Right. And then if I can have the third reading? No?
Public hearing.
Now we're to the members of the public. Okay.
Public hearing.
Gotcha. It's here in my little notes. Okay, so we'll open the podium for anybody who would like to speak. Good evening. If you could state your name and spell your last name for the record and your address, please.
It's Paulette Cawley, Cawley, at 1994 Kaltassan Road. An application has been filed by Rob Peters for bylaws 627 and 628 to permit commercial use on a residential property at 2017 Idlemore Road in Souk. The property in question is presently zoned residential, and our adjacent property at 1994 Kaltassan Road is also zoned residential. As property owners of 1994 Kaltassan Road, we do hereby request that the pending application mentioned herein be denied by the Council of the District of Souk on the following grounds. Commercial designation as proposed in Bylaw 627 and Bylaw 628 would detrimentally affect the value of our property. I have an addendum because we have no objection to Mr. Peters putting a storage facility only on his property at 2017 Idlemore Road. He's a good neighbor, and I know that he would just put a storage facility there. But we cannot agree to the rezoning bylaws as proposed. These bylaws will permit many other unacceptable commercial and industrial uses that would ultimately affect the value of our property. If you look at the commercial, C3, they would be able to put auto service facility, body and paint shops, car wash, carpentry shops, gas bar, machine shops, parking lots, etc. And I believe that this would reduce the value of property. If this property was in fact sold at a later date and somebody decided to put an auto body shop on it, as they could if it's designated as C3, then this would impact the value of our property. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for coming, Ms. Cawley.
My name is Roger Temple, Temple. I'm at 2468 Sun River Way, Souk. Madam Mayor, councillors and citizens of Souk, this is regarding Rob Peters, Souk Moving and Storage 2017 Idlemore, file number PLN 001202, the amendment to the bylaws that we have been discussing. As a Souk resident and a member of several community organizations, I am writing to support the application for bylaw rezoning of the above-mentioned property. Being a concert manager of the Souk Community Choir, I can vouch that it has been greatly benefited over the past several years from the assistance and the support from Rob Peters and his Souk Moving and Storage team. They have provided countless hours of volunteer time supporting the community choir by transporting and delivering the equipment for the choir. The choir does indeed rent space on the site from Souk Moving and Storage for storage purposes. Mr. Peters has always been a supporter and a promoter of the choir, which has greatly helped the choir by supporting our performances. As a board member of the Rotary Club of Souk, Mr. Peters has significantly donated time, effort, and donates to the annual Rotary auction on a regular basis, which helps the community of Souk. The Rotary Club of Souk also rents space for storage at Souk Moving and Storage facilities. However, the Souk Moving and Storage team does provide volunteer hours in support of Rotary and, in turn, the Souk community. The need for a business such as Souk Moving and Storage and its involvement in the community of Souk is invaluable. Space for storage is essential in Souk, and no one can provide a better service than Souk Moving and Storage and its team by Mr. Rob Peters. I thank you for your positive consideration in this process. Sincerely yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Temple.
Good evening. My name is Mark Layton, Layton, 7007 Richview Road, and I'd like to speak to a vision of the Souk community 25 years from now. Spring in Souk in 2041 is just around the corner. I leave my Whiffen Spit home, and a brisk walk along the foreshore to Billings Spit is interrupted only by a brief detour over the new pedestrian crossings that have been provided for the Souk River. I arrive at my lockup in the tastefully redesigned Souk Moving and Storage. The friendly staff give me a hand setting up my power-assisted bicycle, I'll need it by then, and trailer, and I load up my spring gardening tools. On my return trip over the enhanced trail system, I take a tour to the Souk Nation's Native Friendship and Traditional Garden Center. After a consultation with an elder, and with her kind regards, I'm able to complete my plans for my Country Foods kitchen garden. The cycle trip home is pleasant. There are many places to rest, many people to exchange a pleasant nod or chat with. After a brief stop in the town center for groceries, seeds, and plants, not to mention a few more garden tools, and I'm on my way again. Safely home, I engaged the talents of a young person to help me in getting this year's garden going. Her folks, as I recall, were Syrian refugees in 2016. Speaking of 2016, I smile, and I recall with some pride that night in January 2016 when I was able to support Rob Peters' bid before Souk Council to grow his moving and storage business into what has become an important part of a diverse and healthy community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Layton.
My name is Matthew Peters, P-E-T-E-R-S. My address is 6939 Grant Road. I'm reading a couple letters on the behalf of Emmett O'Sullivan at 2011 Idlemore Road and Ray Coffey at 6110 Seabroom Road. Emmett O'Sullivan writes, I fully support Rob Peters in his proposal of extending the storage business onto 2017 Idlemore Road. I am already pleased with the progress that has already been made on the property, and Rob's plan only enhances that property. Ray Coffey says, we are neighbors and customers of Souk Moving and Storage on Idlemore Road and have nothing but good things to say about the way they carry on business. These premises are kept tidy and well groomed at all times. We feel sure his proposed expansion operation will be managed in similar professional fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Good afternoon. Katie Armitage, 2345 Henland Drive. Armitage, A-R-M-I-T-A-G-E. I am the office manager at Souk Moving and Storage. I too have a couple of letters from some people who unfortunately could not be here today. My first one here is from Hugh Audette at 2056 Glen Idle Road on the rezoning of 2017 Idlemore Road. We have no objections to the changing of the official community plan from community residential CR to technical industrial in order for Rob Peters to expand his storage business. Rob Peters has been Our neighbor and owner of Souk Moving and Storage for over 25 years, he has maintained a clean and quiet work site and has always consulted neighbors when necessary. Rob is very involved in the Souk community and is eager to volunteer his services whenever needed. We have confidence that Rob will continue to be a responsible business owner. And that's from Hugh and Linda Audette. I have another one from Larry Lloyd, who lives on Kaltassan Road. And he says, my name is Larry Lloyd. I have a residential property adjacent to the property of Rob Peters, subject to a rezoning application. I've known Rob for 30 years, and he is a reputable businessman who is always willing to donate his time and money to help the citizens of the community. I have no objection to Rob Peters' application to rezone his property for storage purposes. I told the same to Dale Arden when he applied for the same rezoning 10 years ago. Arden's property is also adjacent to mine. Having Arden's storage next door is ideal. The property is secure and completely quiet. I expect it will be the same with Rob Peters' property. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armitage.
Good evening. My name is Jane Jowett, Jowett. I reside at 2322 Kemp Lake Road. Acting Mayor, Council, citizens of Souk. I'm representing Neil Flynn and Roger Temple. Both are Rotarians and co-chairs of the annual Rotary Auction and Spring Fair. To all concerned, this year will bring the 26th annual Rotary Auction and Spring Fair. The Rotary Club of Souk, along with our community, will focus on excellence in Souk. Be it an individual, an organization, a business, or an event, Souk has much to be proud of. One example of this community's excellence that always comes to mind is Rob Peters of Souk Moving and Storage. Like many organizations in this community, the Rotary Club of Souk has benefited greatly from the generosity and support of Rob and his staff. Our annual auction is the key in the success of many Rotary projects and programs in Souk over the past many years. That success is a result of the hard work of Rotarians, friends of the Rotary family, including the strong support of many businesses and individuals in our community. Rob Peters has risen to the top of every list as a friend of Rotary and as an individual and as a business in Souk. Rob has consistently donated generously to this annual event and given significantly in time and effort. Through this support, Rob has truly helped to make the Rotary Auction the important community event that has become today. The Rotary Club of Souk is deeply thankful to Rob and the staff of Souk Moving and Storage and offer our support and best wishes in all future business endeavors. Rob and crew deserve the support of the District of Souk and the entire community that they continue to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jowett.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Rob Peters, P-E-T-E-R-S, 2037 Glen Idle, which is connected to the property of 2018 Idlemore Road, so I live at Souk Moving and Storage or on the premises. 2017 Idlemore Road is across the street. I'd like to thank staff of the District of Souk for all the support they've given me and all the information they've shared with me, in particular Danica Rice, who has helped me understand this process and work with the district to make this a possibility. Thank you for my consideration. Thank you for considering my application to rezone 2017 Idlemore Road. This property has been used since 1974 commercially and industrial for repair shops, garbage companies, logging, gravel, office, and storage. Knowing the history of this property, I'm asking Council to rezone in order to improve its overall appearance and usage. This improvement benefits the Billingspit area and Souk in general. Due to the shortage of industrial property in our community, this would also provide Souk Moving and Storage the ability to expand and grow along with the community in order to provide the services necessary to keep Souk Moving and Storage moving ahead. Souk Moving and Storage as a company has remained essential to the progress in our community and will continue to do so with the ability to grow within the district. I would like to ask council, this is in consideration of the volunteer contribution. I would like to ask council to consider adding streetlights on Idlemore Road. This would create a safety corridor for the public that walk this road in the dark to get home, to get to the bus stop, or to even check their mailboxes. These are sensitive areas that need streetlights before someone gets hurt. Trails along the road would be a secondary option. This would be a great benefit to our community and the building specifically. We do have a long-term plan for using this property as a storage facility, being quite successful in the last 25 or 30 years, providing services and storage facilities to the District of Sault, and I see no reason why this would not continue on as a business that would carry on as a storage facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters, and also thank you for the kind words working with the district staff. That's very much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so
Ellen Lures, 5526 Souk Road. I have a couple comments. One with the C3 zoning. I think that we really need to do some review of the zoning bylaw as well. In amongst the auto wrecking and the gas stations and et cetera, we have a church in there. I don't see how that fits with the C3 zoning. I think that we need to do some research in our zoning bylaws and redo them. And there should be a bylaw that actually fits for this, because this bylaw, the C3, is not really a good fit for this. We need to do better work. With the OCP review recommendations, we should look at how to apply the recommendations to this committee, because there has to be some changes made. Too many times people are coming forward and there isn't a zoning that fits or isn't the OCP that fits, and that has to be rectified. And when there's things like that happen here, there needs to be some trigger in your minutes or something that triggers, say, the recommendation from council for zoning change. There should be some words that trigger so that you can actually make those changes in an OCP or have discussions around them, because it's not happening and it's not working properly. There's something else. Oh, the technical industrial change. I don't see how that works with this. They're two different things, totally different. I was on the OCP and when we discussed technical industrial, and the technical industrial that's up there is not what our vision was. Our vision was for a technical park for computers and things like that. So I don't see how this fits with a storage, movie and storage. But those are things that's housework that has to be done at home. It's not working. And you'll have to look at this and see if it can fit together. Thank you.
thank you, Mrs. Lures, and appreciate the comments.
Sorry, forgot to say the good things as well. I want to say, as also Sioux Falls Fair president, that we really have appreciated Rob's help all along, because he's been very good moving around the zucchini racetrack, which is very important because it's a big thing at our fair. And he is a good citizen, and this has nothing to do with him being a good citizen, bad citizen. This is just work that we need to do at committee level, and council needs to review these bylaws. They have to be done properly, because this doesn't work, and it's very difficult for some, whether it's staff or for people coming forward to get a change made. There's nothing definite there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lures.
Gale Hall, 2517 Sioux River Road, Hall. Such a long one. I guess my first comment I would like to make is that this particular rezoning and so on came forward in one of these yellow dealies on, I think it was the 14th of December or something. So we picked it up out there on the table and are faced with it in here, and they want first and second reading and call a public hearing, but there is no time for public to ask questions and get answers around some of the material in this presentation. And usually we have committee of the whole or something like that where, because when we come to a public hearing, we can't ask questions, or we can ask them, but we won't get answers. And that's not appropriate, because there's a lot of material in here that really needs some serious looking. And so I think I would like to see that change in some way, so that we're not picking this up the night of the meeting and wondering how we're going to find answers. Okay, caused that problem. Whoops. I'll get it later. I don't know whose it is. It's not mine. Bylaw 627. It says it's a bylaw to amend Bylaw 400, Official Community Plan Bylaw 210. In fact, Bylaw 400 is the enacting bylaw for the community plan. The community plan is not a bylaw, so I believe that that needs to be changed. If you're not going to amend Bylaw 400, you're going to amend the official community plan. So I think they need to take a look at that. I seem to recall when the community plan was being put together that the reason that the community residential was put all down through that area was as kind of a, because this is a plan after all, and the plan was that someday, I'm sure I'll be long gone, but someday they would like to see the industrial out of there and that area come to residential. That's why the community residential designation was put there. So it's not a case of it not fitting with what's around it. It is a plan, and it's a forward-looking idea. So I think that needs to be thought about when you start doing some of this material. I'm not at all sure that the business that wants to move in there is actually going to hurt no matter what it is, because it's part of what we're looking for in the future, and the business wouldn't hurt for a while anyway. I also have problems with the technical industrial designation. It doesn't seem to fit what Mr. Peters was requesting, which is to expand his current business. Technical industrial to me means a bunch of people sitting around big tables with lots of lights and doing all sorts of things. The thing is kind of, well, it's got funeral homes and all sorts of other things in it. I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think it's much more inclusive and complicated than the requirements of this developer. The business park idea is fine, but this developer didn't ask for that. And I think it's a stretch for him to have to bear the costs that are going to go with that when all he wants is to expand his current business. So I've got bylaw 628 here, amending the zoning to C3. The Local Government Act used to be 884, now it's 478, requires that amendments such as a zoning bylaw be consistent with the official community plan. The C3 zone is not consistent with the proposed technical industrial designation. In fact, a technical industrial zone was added to the zoning bylaw as a partner for the technical industrial designation. So why are we moving away from what was put there as a zone to fit with the technical industrial designation when they fit together, and you're calling in something called C3? It doesn't make any sense. And the technical industrial business park zone is right there in the zoning bylaw, M5. that's the zone that goes with the technical industrial designation in the community plan. And somewhere in here, there's a batch of, on the blue copy, page 16, down at the bottom, talks about legal impacts. And it's the wording, provincial legislation enables local governments to require services, collect fees, or obtain land from new developments to address uncertain impacts, da-da-da-da. Under the Local Government Act, the District of Sauk is authorized to obtain community amenities. And Section 3.5 of the District of Sauk Community Amenity Contribution Policy states that amenities for commercial properties will be determined at the time of a rezoning application. Okay, that sounds like you can run out and grab this and grab that and make them do this and make them do that. Every single one of those requires a bylaw. You just can't do what you want to do and make him do what you want him to do. And the new, out of the new Local Government Act, all in green, Section 931(6). It says quite clearly, a local government must not do either of the following unless authorized by this act, by another act, or by a bylaw made under the authority of this act or another act. One is they cannot impose a fee, a charge, or a tax, and they cannot require a work or service to be provided. So this business of running around with the $5,000 figure and requiring the developer to build a trail or build parks or build whatever, it has to be covered by a bylaw. It can't just be words on paper. And covenants are not bylaws, and neither are policies bylaws. I have no problem with Mr. Peters expanding his business and would hope that the district can find a way for him to do so without the complicated redesignation of his property and a zone he does not need, nor should he be required to bear the cost. I think it's a stretch. I think it's above the law. And I think it needs a relook. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Okay, calling for any other speakers for a second time. Calling for any other speakers a third time. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing at this point. And Ms. Sprinkling, I have no notes. So the next point is then to open it for conversation for council.
At this time, council can consider third reading and carry through the discussion on that. It's on page 25, there's 3 resolutions there for council to consider.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sprinkling. Councillor Casper?
Yeah, I just have a question to staff, and I think it was in regard to a comment that was made from a property owner that's adjacent to this subject property, and I just wanted to make sure that the bylaw is correct as far as the setbacks. With the rear setback, according to the proposed zoning, is adjacent to residential zone, including CD zones. The setback in the rear property line for a structure, I'm assuming structure, is 4.5 meters. Is that correct? Through you? Okay. All right, thank you.
Councillor Parkinson?
Move third reading.
Councillor Logans. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I just would like to confirm that was third reading of bylaw 627, and then you'll do 628.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Councillor Parkinson. Second by Councillor Logans. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And then, Your Worship, the last two motions there.
Is anyone prepared to move? No, two more. We just did the third one, so now we have the fourth and fifth one.
So I would move that council direct that prior to final adoption of bylaws 627 and 628, the owner enter into section 219 covenant with the District of Sauk to address an amenity contribution towards the construction of a trail along Idlemore Road.
Thank you, Councillor Parkinson. Thank you, Councillor Logans. Discussion. Councillor Casper?
Yeah, so will that, once that draft is done, would that come back to council then for approval, resolution?
Through to you, to the worship, Your Worship, to you, Councillor Casper. No, it won't come back. It's in the package today. So council is approving that through this motion and authorizing the mayor and CAO to endorse the covenant.
Councillor Pearson?
Okay, so now am I to understand that that covenant is the trail, and Mr. Peters is suggesting lighting? Is that where we're at now in this part of the? This is. I want to ask that question through the chair to you,
Ms.
So,
Rice?
Okay, so the way this discussion began was that I suggested to Mr. Peters that he would, if he would like to offset the impacts of this upzoning, that he could make a donation of some sort of amenity. So we were talking about what the community could use. The first thing, I thought of a trail because of the school at the end. He said, you know what, all my neighbors have been broken into recently. I'd really like to see some lighting. So I had a look at where the lighting is located within town. It's not far up the road. And I had a discussion with Elizabeth, our engineer, who said, you know, it really wouldn't be very difficult. It's just a matter of putting in lights there. So we have already moved that ball along. The lights are ordered, they're coming. So then we decided that, you know, what would be an appropriate amount. The 5,000 was kind of, it's based off, although it's very vague, the policy, it's something we do need to revisit. But for properties outside of the town center, 5,000 is where that number came from. So I said, well, if you want to come up with a in-kind contribution or cash to a value of $5,000 towards a trail improvement along Idlemore Road, that might be a great thing to look at, and he agreed that that would be a good thing as well. And so that's where things were when we spoke last. The lights and the lights were the number one thing, for sure, but they are ordered. So.
Okay, and through the chair to you again. So I guess the $5,000 to me is not a lot of trail getting it built for $5,000, right? So what are we going to do with that $5,000? Are we going to hold it in a fund, or?
So we can put it in the reserve fund, but my concern was just that if we put it in the reserve fund without saying that it's a trail contribution for that particular road, it will get put into the greater community, and I believe that that neighborhood needs it. Right. So I would like it earmarked for that, and I believe Mr. Peters does absolutely as well.
Right. So, and to all the council and to you, and I applaud you. I think that sometimes these amenities negotiating, and we're going to hear about them later tonight as well, is that I think that the developers who are putting their best foot forward want to see that amenity in their area. So immediate kind of need is my feeling for it. Maybe enhanced lighting and things like that, and I hear that you've done that. So I would prefer, rather than a $5,000 pot sitting down on Idlemore Road for the next 57 years, and we don't build a trail, I'd rather see something more immediate that benefits the developer as well as the community at large.
So we did speak about that, and to potentially, one of the things that we talked about is that he will be improving his landscaping in front, and so the trail would, could be started there. There's different pros and cons to that, I'm sure, as you know, but at least the money is spent where it should be.
Well, I live on Maple Avenue, and I have a 67-foot sidewalk that goes from nowhere to nowhere, and I think that and it feels silly when you get these things going. So let's use the $5,000 wisely. So that's my point.
Ms. Sullivan?
Sorry.
Thank you. I just want to let everyone know that we will be reviewing this policy and making it far more comprehensive. It's a little light on its feet right now, and there's a lot of questions that we're getting from the public with respect to how we come up with our calculations. And this is certainly not a criticism of staff. They are following the current policy, but it's top of my list of bylaw, or not even a bylaw, a policy to review.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
And further, that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute the Section 219 covenant.
Second.
Second by Councillor Casper. Any further discussion? Yes, Ms. Sullivan?
Just a point of clarity, we should say the acting mayor
mayor.
and the chief administrative officer.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Okay, all in favor? Okay, opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, so that concludes the public hearing. And we'll now go into the bylaws section, and B1, bylaw number 622, zoning amendment bylaw 600-192182 Church Road, Wadhams Way Comprehensive Zone. And I believe we have a presentation from the Planning Department.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. In front of you this evening is consideration of third reading of Bylaw 622 for 2182 Church Road. At the close of the public hearing for this file on December 14th, Council was looking for confirmation that the amenities had been appropriately addressed prior to moving the application forward. The Wadhams Way zone was reviewed by the municipal lawyer before Council considered the bylaw. And following the public hearing, our lawyer has also confirmed that using Section 219 covenants as presented is a perfectly legitimate tool used to secure amenities and affordable housing. The lawyer mentioned that hundreds of similar covenants are registered on properties throughout the province each year. The owners of this property made an amenity offer that was in line with the discussions at the September 8th Committee of the Whole meeting. This offer was then secured in the covenants as presented to Council. The applicant will need to register those covenants prior to fourth reading of this bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lation. So, Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Ms. Lation. And I think, and hopefully the applicants, because I see they are here, can appreciate sometimes when we're entering into these amenity discussions, if we don't have clarity on that amenity and how that comes to be, it sounds like we're asking for me, and I spend an enormous amount of time reading between then and now, for me personally, about how amenities come to be. We don't have to look far when because you have said by your own volition that you're not a developer. So what happens is we tie these properties up with a bunch of things that we don't know in the future, and we want to make sure that they go ahead. We only have one across the road. We have recently some announcements in the paper about very complicated CD zones. So trust me, I'm coming from protecting you as well as part of this process. So there was some lack of clarity. It feels sometimes to me that and I'm saying this publicly, not to you guys, is that when we start, and I'd hate to say this, appears like we're selling zoning, and I don't like how that feels with that amenity policy. I think that your base density, was 54 in this case, and you're applying for 133. Somewhere in there, you should be able to apply for a zone that gives you a different density on there, and then amenity contribution should be on an uplift of that zone. And I'm not struggling anymore with it because I've had it explained to me a couple of times and what I've read. So your development is in the right place, and it's all, and I support this development going forward. I just wanted some clarity myself personally, and I think other members of council, on that amenity contribution. So that part I wanted. So I think, again, to the CAO, through the chair, we need to look at this amenity policy so that people can come in here and say, okay, we're going from this density, we're going to apply for this zone, and then if they want to add for something else, then that's when the amenity bonusing or the density bonusing cuts in, not on the base from today to a CD zone. So it's kind of, there's a missing step for me. Anyways, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor.
I will be supporting this recommendation.
Okay. Councillor Casper?
Yeah, I just have a question, and it relates to page 44 on the agenda, and it shows the map, the plan view. So is it possible to put that up on the screen? Oh, I see. So it's not up there right now. So it's pretty hard to visualize. Yeah, there it is. Oh, there. So when the municipality purchased property from the current owners, the subject lot, I assume that our purchase was in line of the right-of-way that was previously established, Wadham's Way, or is that the true size of the property that we're, contemplating rezoning right now, the way that plan is?
Through the chair, the way that the lot is presented there is actually the way it is. That's the true lot line.
After the purchases were made, and the subject bonus density calculation is based on that size right now, right? That's after we purchased everything and took everything along.
Correct.
Church Road and Wadham's Way. Okay. Just out of curiosity, we seem to have one heck of a lot of right-of-way that's on the next property over. So it just seems odd. So, okay, and that's what created the confusion in my mind here. Okay, I'm sure you understand that. Okay, thanks. That's all I need to know.
Councillor Parkinson.
I would just like to say that council give third reading.
To bylaw 622. Okay, is there a seconder? Second. Councillor Berger. Any further discussion? Call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to B2, bylaw number 623, zoning amendment bylaw 600-2, 7,000 Malrick Place, corporate services report presentation.
Your Worship, we just wanted to be sure with this application that we had the correct sequence for the readings of bylaw 623. When I think the question was asked, can we give third reading to the bylaws at that meeting on December 14th? I did say yes, but that was an error. Yes, you could. You said it. You could give third reading to the other two, but this one we needed to wait until after the public hearing. So I apologize for that, and I'm asking council to consider that third reading, consider rescinding that third reading that you gave on December 14th, and then give third reading again to bylaw 623.
I'll move that the third reading that was considered on December 14th be rescinded.
Second by Councillor Pearson. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
And now it's appropriate to do third reading? And I would now move that council give third reading to, what's the number of the bylaw?
623.
623.
Okay. Second by Councillor Berger. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll move into reports requiring action. RA1 Residential Strata Title Conversion Application for 2072 Dover Street, and a report from the Engineering Department. Please.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me. We're a little squished over here today. This is, the applicant is requesting approval in principle of the proposed strata title conversion. It's the first step in the process. Basically, it allows council to consider whether they're even open to allowing a strata conversion before the applicant goes and spends money getting the reports and studies done in order for the strata plan to be brought back forward. The applicant is in attendance. I'm not sure if you have any specific questions for them.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Lurs. Comments? So this appears to be converting an existing 2-unit into a strata title side-by-side duplex. And any comments from Councillor Berger?
Thank you. I just like to move the recommendation as laid out on page 53. This is very similar as to what we've seen before from the Brimhill subdivision as well as in the Dover Street location. And looking at the map supplied, I'm prepared to move the recommendation as laid out.
Councillor Casper, any discussion? Councillor Pearson?
Yeah, this is one of these ones that comes back, and it would be nice if we had either the committee of the whole meeting where we could have these sort of informal discussions so we understand what it is that the applicant's asking for, or the former land use committee where there's some informal dialogue as opposed to the formal process of this, because now I'm trying to legally kind of go through my brain here. What are they actually trying to do? So, and again, there's no informal discussion, so that we don't get to understand this. So, anyways, I have no issue with it.
Any other comments? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
Can I ask a question? So what we've just voted on is in principle that we have no issue with it. Now there's going to be an application, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay, our RA2 has been struck from the agenda, so we'll move into reports for information. And I see that the first one is the Rcmp monthly report for November 2015. Okay, Councillor Parkinson, Councillor Pearson. All in favor? Carried. And then the next one is Mayor and Council reports. I'll start to my right. Councillor Parkinson, if you have any reports today. Thank you. Councillor Logans.
Not too much, just a quick thing that I heard today. One of our young folks, I think he's in grade 10, in Souk, is heading to Ottawa to learn all about the legislature and politics, and got accepted to that. So I'll get more info on it when he returns after spring break, but I thought it would be an exciting thing, and hopefully we have a few more young people going to that this year.
Thank you, Councillor Logans. Councillor Casper?
Yes, just as a point of information, at one of our previous council meetings, we referred the matter of safe route to school to the CRD Regional Transportation or Regional Planning Transportation Group. They've received that correspondence, and so we're in the hopper of the 25 schools within the capital region that they will look at. This Wednesday will be the first meeting of the new directors of the board, and then the chair of the board will be announcing all the members committee duties on Wednesdays, so then I'll have further information on that at our next meeting as to what's going to happen, okay?
Thank you, Councillor Casper. And I'll let Councillor Pearson speak to the saltwater series and anything else that you have to report on.
Okay. First of all, I attended the Wanapeka Water Commission meeting on January the 4th. Our item for agenda with the water line extension down Otter Point will be on the next month's agenda. There was a bit of a timing issue from the motion that you remember that we made to make application through DCCs. Seems to be well received, but I mean it hasn't got to the commission yet. So that and the normal course of business at the Wanapeka Water Commission, some expansion and some approvals of some subdivisions. Of particular note, there's a fairly large development that will be going on the north side of the Trans-Canada Highway in that Goldstream area, Skirt Mountain area. I think it's called Skirt Mountain, is what they call it. So substantial amount of development that will border up against, or sort of envision behind Bear Mountain. So substantial. But I mean, that's it for that. Last night I had the pleasure of attending the wind-up dinner for the Saltwater Salmon Series with Councillor Parkinson, Councillor Loggins, Councillor Casper, and Acting Mayor Councillor Ray. It was a great event, and there's lots of enthusiasm, and it's something that as a community I really think that we need to be supporting. All three of the derbies that support the Saltwater Salmon Series are in the off-season, so they generate a revenue in a season that traditionally doesn't have people or tourists coming in. So it's going to get bigger. We should be really looking at it as supporting economic development in Souk and forwarding it through to our South Vancouver Island Regional Economic Development Committee. So it's something that's exciting, and it's on the cusp of a lot of economic benefit. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Pearson. Councillor Berger.
Yes, so I attended the first meeting of the South Vancouver Island Economic Development Association. I have another one coming next week. They've already developed a website, which is really great. It's www.yyjprosperity.ca. So far, they've established as a regional nonprofit. It's an industry-led collaboration currently looking to, and right now, they're currently looking for their first industry-led board of directors. So on the website, you can go and it's under the jobs tab, and they're looking for board of directors, people that have experience in economic development as well as key points of industry within the southern region. There's 11 municipalities already on board. They have a First Nation rep that's talking to First Nation bands. And every time I check, there's new public stakeholders and industry members that are joining in. Their primary objective right now is set out is to diversify and strengthen the South Vancouver Island economy by retaining and expanding existing businesses and attracting new ones, as well as fostering trade. At the previous meeting, we looked at key focus points for industry and what Southern Vancouver Island has been thriving on, as well as new industry. Biotech, which is the clean energy as well as technology department company, is also part of it, and they're looking to expand as well. So it's a pretty exciting board. My next meeting is next week, and I believe we're just looking at bylaws and things to get them going. So.
Thank you, Councillor Berger. Okay, so that takes us to a report of in-camera resolutions, and I'm pleased to announce this evening that Council is appointing 3 members to the Souk Fire Services Commission. They are Kenneth R. Epps-Canavan, Cameron McIntyre, and Marie Lambert. And so we're pleased to be able to announce that they will make up our Souk Fire Services Commission. And I think that concludes the open portion of the agenda, and I'd just like to thank Ms. Sullivan and all of the staff that are here tonight supporting Council. Thank you very much. If I can get a motion to adjourn. Councillor Casper and Councillor Logans, thank you.